Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the San Francisco Board of Supervisors meeting of Tuesday, February 7, 2017. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam President. President Breed.
Here.
Breed present. Supervisor Cohen. Cohen present. Supervisor Farrell. Farrell present. Supervisor Fewer. Fewer not present. Supervisor Kim. Kim present. Supervisor Peskin.
Present.
Peskin present. Supervisor Ronan. Ronan present. Supervisor Safai. Safai present. Supervisor Sheehy.
Present.
Sheehy present. Supervisor Tang.
Present.
Tang present. Supervisor Yee.
Present.
Yee present. Madam President, you have a quorum.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Madam Clerk, will you please read the consent agenda? And we are now joined by Supervisor Fewer.
Items 1 through 8 comprise the consent agenda. These items are considered routine. If a member objects, an item may be removed and considered separately.
Supervisor Yee?
I'd like to remove item number 3.
All right. Seeing no other names on the roster, Madam Clerk, on items 1 through 8, excluding item number 3, please call the roll.
Supervisor Fewer.
Yes.
Fewer, aye. Supervisor Kim. Kim, aye. Supervisor Peskin.
Aye.
Peskin, aye. Supervisor Ronan. Aye. Ronan, aye. Supervisor Safai.
Aye.
Safai, aye. Supervisor Sheehy.
Aye.
Sheehy, aye. Supervisor Tang.
Aye.
Tang, aye. Supervisor Yee.
Aye.
Yee, aye. Supervisor Breed.
Aye.
Breed, aye. Supervisor Cohen.
Aye.
Cohen, aye. Supervisor Farrell. Aye. Farrell, aye. There are 11 ayes.
Those items are passed unanimously. Madam Clerk, please read item number 3.
Item 3 is an ordinance to amend the administrative, business, and tax regulations and police codes to eliminate various fees imposed by the city.
Supervisor Yee.
So I just wanted to make a slight non-substantive amendment to this. So I was notified by the police department that they wanted to make a slight change. So it's on page 15, it's an addition of line 17 to just include the line that says second dealer license fees. We had limited it, but they wanted to be included back in there. So that's the amendment I'm asking for.
Okay, Supervisor Yee has made a motion to amend. Supervisor Peskin.
Could Supervisor Yee restate the amendment?
Yes, it's on page 15. I don't know if you have it in front of you.
I have it in front of me.
And it's line 17 to reinstate the second dealer license fees.
Second-hand dealer auto accessories. Line 16 is second-hand dealer.
Yeah, second-hand dealer.
Line 16.
Line 17. Basically, 16 was the original, where we had eliminated it, and they wanted us to put it back in. So we're basically just putting it back in.
So just for clarity, Supervisor Peskin, Supervisor Yee's legislation was to eliminate specific items that basically weren't being used, and this one is in fact being used, so it is the request to add this one back. And what that would mean on this particular item is that it will not finally pass. This will be its first reading, and it will need to be heard again next week. Supervisor Peskin.
Madam President, I totally understand that, but I think it's actually at line 16. Just maybe the Deputy City
Mr.
Attorney.
Givner?
There's 3 versions of this. The third version has second-hand dealer at line 16, second-hand dealer auto accessories at line 17.
Thank you.
Deputy City Attorney John Givner. The ordinance at line 16 deletes the $0 license fee for second-hand dealers. At the police department's request, Supervisor Yee is requesting that we add that back in. So the document that I believe Supervisor Yee has provided to the clerk adds a new line 17 that adds the deleted line back in.
Got it.
Okay.
Is that so?
Supervisor Yee?
Oh, sorry. Through the President, Deputy City Attorney Givner, is this substantive enough to actually, will we have to wait until next week, or can we just pass it this week?
It's not a substantive amendment requiring additional public comment, but under the charter, anytime an ordinance is amended on second read, it has to have another reading. So after you make the amendment, you'll have a first reading and then next week, second reading.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, Supervisor Yee. Supervisor Peskin?
Second.
Okay. So Supervisor Yee has made a motion to amend. It was seconded by Supervisor Peskin. Colleagues, can we take the amendment without objection? Without objection, the amendment passes unanimously. And on the item as amended, can we take that same House, same call? Without objection, this ordinance passes unanimously on the first reading. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
Item 9 is an ordinance to approve a lease disposition and development agreement and a 75-year ground lease with a 99-year option to extend with the Regents of the University of California, San Francisco, or UCSF, for a new research building with an initial base rent to be paid by UCSF of $180,000 per year, to authorize the Department of Public Health to accept a $10 million parking reimbursement contribution upon delivery of the ground lease to UCSF, and to make the appropriate findings.
Supervisor Sheehy.
The University of California is a party to this agreement. Before I took office as a supervisor, I was employed at UCSF's AIDS Research Institute. This agreement does not directly involve the department of UCSF that I work for, but because I continue to receive pension and retirement benefits through UC, I must make this public disclosure on the record before our vote.
Thank you, Supervisor Sheehy. And seeing no other names on the roster, colleagues, can we take item number 9, same House, same call? Without objection, the ordinance is finally passed unanimously. Madam Clerk, please call items 10 and 11 together.
Item 10 is an ordinance to authorize the settlement of a lawsuit filed by Bradley Bishop against the city for $750,000. The lawsuit was filed on February 9, 2015 in San Francisco Superior Court involving a medical malpractice claim. Item 11 is an ordinance authorizing the settlement of a lawsuit filed by the Regents of the University of California against the city for approximately $474,000, filed on September 22, 2015 in San Francisco Superior Court involving a refund for overbilling.
Supervisor Sheehy.
Per item 11, the University of California is a party to this agreement. Before I took office as a supervisor, I was employed at UCSF's AIDS Research Institute. This agreement does not directly involve the department of UCSF that I work for, but because I continue to receive pension and retirement benefits through UC, I must make this public disclosure on the record before our vote.
Thank you, Supervisor Sheehy. And just for clarity, both items 10 and 11 have been called. All right, colleagues, can we take those items, same House, same call? Without objection, those ordinances are finally passed unanimously. Next item, please.
Item 12 is an ordinance to amend the Planning Code to establish a citywide transportation demand management program to require development projects to incorporate design features, incentives, and tools that support sustainable forms of transportation, to create new administrative fees, and to make conforming amendments to various sections of the Planning Code, affirming the CEQA determination and making other appropriate findings.
Colleagues, can we take this item, same House, same call? Without objection, the ordinance finally passes unanimously. Item number 13.
Item 13 is an ordinance to amend Administrative Code, Chapter 41, to update the hotel conversion ordinance, including adding or refining definitions of tourist and transit use, comparable unit, conversion, and low-income household, revising procedures for permits to convert residential units, harmonizing fees and penalty provisions with the building code to eliminate seasonal short-term rentals for residential hotels that have violated provisions of the hotel conversion ordinance in the previous years, to authorize the Department of Building Inspection to issue administrative subpoenas, and to add an operative date and affirm the CEQA determination.
Supervisor Peskin.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, I want to thank you for your unanimous support last week, and I want to note the consternation of a number of SRO hotel owners, and I want to represent that I will continue to work with that community and make revisions if necessary over time.
Thank you, Supervisor Peskin. And Madam Clerk, I had requested that I be added as a co-sponsor to this legislation.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Colleagues, can we take this item, same House, same call? Without objection, the ordinance finally passes unanimously. Next item, please.
Item 14 is an ordinance to amend the administrative code to set the structure, functions, terms, and administrative support for the Dignity Fund Oversight and Advisory Committee as required by the Charter, Section 16.128-11, adopted as part of Proposition I at the November 8th, 2016 general municipal election.
Same house, same call. Without objection, the ordinance passes unanimously on the first reading. Next item, please.
Item 15 is a resolution to confirm the nomination of Sergeant Dorian J. Carr, United States Air Force, retired, as County Veteran Service Officer.
Supervisor Peskin?
I was just interested in knowing if Sergeant Carr was here just so that we could all see him and congratulate him on his impending nomination.
Okay. I don't think that he is here. All right. Thank you. Supervisor Safai?
Thanks. Please sign these. And this lady at the rail.
Just to Supervisor Peskins, Sergeant Carr did attend the Rules Committee hearing. He did present on his behalf, and we were all unanimous in his support. So he was present for that hearing.
Thank you. Colleagues, can we take this item, same house, same call? Without objection, the resolution is adopted unanimously. All right, Madam Clerk, please read items 16 and 19 together.
Item 16 is a motion to appoint Supervisor Norman Yee to the Association of Bay Area Governments Executive Board for a 2-year term. And item 19 is a motion to appoint Supervisor Norman Yee to the Golden Gate Bridge Highway and Transportation District Board of Directors for a 2-year term.
Colleagues, may I have a motion to excuse Supervisor Yee, moved by Supervisor Peskin, seconded by Supervisor Kim. Colleagues, can we take that without objection? Without objection, Supervisor Yee is excused. And the items, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On items 16 and 19, Supervisor Fewer.
Yes.
Fewer, aye. Supervisor Kim. Kim, aye. Supervisor Peskin. Aye. Peskin, aye. Supervisor Ronan. Ronan, aye. Supervisor Safai. Safai, aye. Supervisor Sheehy.
Aye.
Sheehy, aye. Supervisor Tang.
Aye.
Tang, aye. Supervisor Breed.
Aye.
Breed, aye. Supervisor Cohen. Cohen, aye. Supervisor Farrell. Farrell, aye. There are 10 ayes.
Those motions are approved unanimously. Madam Clerk, please call items 17 and 18.
Item 17 is a motion appointing Supervisor Hillary Ronan to the Bay Area Air Quality Management District Board of Directors for a 4-year term. And item 18 is a motion to appoint Supervisor Hillary Ronan to the Local Agency Formation Commission for a 4-year term.
Colleagues, can I entertain a motion to excuse Supervisor Ronan? Moved by Supervisor Supervisor Yee, seconded by Supervisor Kim. Colleagues, can we take the motion without objection? Without objection, Supervisor Ronan is excused. Madam Clerk, on the items, please call the roll.
On items 17 and 18, Supervisor Fewer.
Yes.
Fewer, aye. Supervisor Kim. Kim, aye. Supervisor Peskin.
Aye.
Peskin, aye. Supervisor Safai. Safai, aye. Supervisor Sheehy.
Aye.
Sheehy, aye. Supervisor Tang.
Aye.
Tang, aye. Supervisor Yee.
Aye.
Yee, aye. Supervisor Breed.
Aye.
Breed, aye. Supervisor Cohen.
Aye.
Cohen, aye. Supervisor Farrell. Farrell, aye. There are 10 ayes.
Those motions are approved unanimously. All right, please call the next item, item number 20.
Item 20 is a motion to appoint Supervisor Aaron Peskin to the Golden Gate Bridge Highway and Transportation District Board of Directors for a 2-year term.
All right, is there a motion to excuse Supervisor Peskin, moved by Supervisor Ronan, second by Supervisor Kim? Colleagues, can we take that without objection? Without objection, Supervisor Peskin is excused. And on the item, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On item 20, Supervisor Fewer.
Yes.
Fewer, aye. Supervisor Kim. Kim, aye. Supervisor Ronan. Ronan, aye. Supervisor Safai.
Aye.
Safai, aye. Supervisor Sheehy.
Aye.
Sheehy, aye. Supervisor Tang.
Aye.
Tang, aye. Supervisor Yee.
Aye.
Yee, aye. Supervisor Breed.
Aye.
Breed, aye. Supervisor Cohen.
Aye.
Cohen, aye. Supervisor Farrell. Farrell, aye. There are 10 ayes.
The motion is approved unanimously. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Item 21 is a motion to appoint Supervisor London Breed to the Golden Gate Bridge Highway and Transportation District Board of Directors for a 2-year term.
Is there a motion to excuse Supervisor Breed made by Supervisor Ronan, seconded by Supervisor Cohen? Without objection, Supervisor Breed is excused. On the item, a roll call, please.
On item 21, Supervisor Fewer.
Yes.
Fewer, aye. Supervisor Kim.
Aye.
Kim, aye. Supervisor Peskin.
Aye.
Peskin, aye. Supervisor Ronan.
Aye.
Ronan, aye. Supervisor Safai. Safai, aye. Supervisor Sheehy.
Aye.
Sheehy, aye. Supervisor Tang.
Aye.
Tang, aye. Supervisor Yi.
Aye.
Yi, aye. Supervisor Cohen.
Aye.
Cohen, aye. Supervisor Farrell. Farrell, aye. There are 10 ayes.
The motion is adopted.
Item 22. Mr. Chair?
Please call the next item.
Item 22 is a motion to appoint Supervisor Jeff Sheehy to the Golden Gate Bridge Highway and Transportation District Board of Directors for a 2-year term.
Colleagues, is there a motion? 1 second, Supervisor.
Jeff.
Is there a motion to excuse, moved by Supervisor Fewer, seconded by Supervisor Yi? Colleagues, can we take this without objection? Without objection, Supervisor Sheehy is excused. All right. Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the item.
On item 22, Supervisor Fewer.
Yes.
Fewer, aye. Supervisor Kim.
Aye.
Kim, aye. Supervisor Peskin.
Aye.
Peskin, aye. Supervisor Ronan.
Aye.
Ronan, aye. Supervisor Safai.
Aye.
Safai, aye. Supervisor Tang.
Aye.
Tang, aye. Supervisor Yi.
Aye.
Yi, aye. Supervisor Breed.
Aye.
Breed, aye. Supervisor Cohen.
Aye.
Cohen, aye. Supervisor Farrell. Farrell, aye. There are 10 ayes.
The motion is approved unanimously. Please call item number 23, Madam Clerk.
Item 23 is a motion to appoint Supervisor Jane Kim to the Metropolitan Transportation Commission for a 4-year term.
Is there a motion to excuse Supervisor Kim? Moved by Supervisor Yi, seconded by Supervisor Ronan. Colleagues, can we take that without objection? Without objection, Supervisor Kim is excused. Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the item.
On item 23, Supervisor Fewer.
Yes.
Fewer, aye. Supervisor Peskin.
Aye.
Peskin, aye. Supervisor Ronan.
Aye. Aye.
Ronan, aye. Supervisor Safai.
Aye.
Safai, aye. Supervisor Sheehy.
Aye.
Sheehy, aye. Supervisor Tang.
Aye.
Tang, aye. Supervisor Yi.
Aye.
Yi, aye. Supervisor Breed.
Aye.
Breed, aye. Supervisor Cohen.
Aye.
Cohen, aye. Supervisor Farrell. Farrell, aye. There are 10 ayes.
The motion is approved unanimously. Next item, please.
Item 24 is a motion to appoint Supervisor Sandra Lee Fewer to the Reentry Council for a 2-year term.
Is there a motion to excuse Supervisor Fewer, moved by Supervisor Peskin, seconded by Supervisor Safai? Colleagues, can we take that without objection? Without objection, Supervisor Fewer is excused. Madam Clerk, on the motion, please call the roll.
On item 24, Supervisor Kim. Kim, aye. Supervisor Peskin.
Aye.
Peskin, aye. Supervisor Ronan.
Aye.
Ronan, aye. Supervisor Safai.
Aye.
Safai, aye. Supervisor Sheehy.
Aye.
Sheehy, aye. Supervisor Tang.
Aye.
Tang, aye. Supervisor Yi.
Aye.
Yi, aye. Supervisor Breed. Breed, aye. Supervisor Cohen.
Aye.
Cohen, aye. Supervisor Farrell. Farrell, aye. There are 10 ayes.
Okay, the motion is approved unanimously. Next item, please.
Item 25 is a motion to appoint Catherine Mindel Jones to the Park Recreation and Open Space Advisory Committee for the unexpired portion of a 2-year term.
All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On item 25, Supervisor Fewer.
Yes.
Fewer, aye. Supervisor Kim. Kim, aye. Supervisor Peskin.
Aye.
Peskin, aye. Supervisor Ronan.
Aye.
Ronan, aye. Supervisor Safai. Aye. Safai, aye. Supervisor Sheehy.
Aye.
Sheehy, aye. Supervisor Tang.
Sorry. Aye.
Tang, aye. Supervisor Yi.
Aye.
Yi, aye. Supervisor Breed.
Aye.
Breed, aye. Supervisor Cohen.
Aye.
Cohen, aye. Supervisor Farrell. Aye. Farrell, aye. There are 11 ayes.
The motion is approved unanimously. All right. Madam Clerk,
Special order, 2:30 p.m.
we are not at 2:30, so unfortunately we cannot take a 2:30 special order or a 3 p.m. special order. So let's go to roll call for introductions.
Supervisor Fewer, you're the first supervisor to introduce new business.
Thank you. I am calling a hearing on litter and waste. Today, colleagues, I am calling for a hearing on littering and waste, as well as the city services tasked with addressing this issue. I have heard from many constituents that trash, dumping, and general litter is of strong concern in my neighborhood, and I know that is not unique to District 1. Many discussions with neighbors and small business owners for many months have raised a series of questions that I think will be best addressed through a hearing. I hope to work with DPW and the Department of the Environment to explore questions around street cleaning schedules, the quantity of and placement of trash cans across districts, and funding for regular community cleanup efforts, as well as a comprehensive anti-littering education program. As residents, we have an individual responsibility in keeping our city clean and beautiful. However, my office has also heard concerns about the spike in volume of cardboard waste as a result of Amazon and other online delivery companies. The convenience of door-to-door next-day deliveries and e-commerce has overwhelmed not just our neighborhood blue bins and on the neighborhood level, but as a system is quite literally overwhelming and changing the landscape of our recycling facility. For our city, with the goal of zero waste by 2020, we need to go beyond just getting waste sorted into proper color bins. It's important to consider what happens and the impact of waste that is left on our curbs. We cannot ignore the hidden cost of processing mountains of cardboard, and with this new and growing marketplace with e-commerce. I hope that this hearing will create a conversation and inform strategies on how our city is handling that growing and evolving issue of littering and these new forms of waste. The rest I submit.
Thank you, Supervisor Fewer. Supervisor Kim.
Submit.
Supervisor Peskin.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Colleagues, I'd like to adjourn today's meeting in the memory of Kiki Baker, the oldest of 11 children raised in the hills of Kentucky. She worked in Silicon Valley assembling semiconductor prototypes and loved her beautiful home, which she owned for 45 years. She loved antiques and fashion right up through her 85th birthday. She never went anywhere without a perfectly matched outfit and accessories. Our regrets to Susan Dyer Reynolds, and the rest I will submit.
Thank you, Supervisor Peskin. Supervisor Ronan.
Yes, today I'm excited to be introducing, together with the mayor, the first piece of legislation to come out of the Mission Action Plan 2020 process that my office has been involved in together with the Planning Commission and the mayor's office for quite some time. It started under former Supervisor Campos. This piece of legislation is rather simple, but it's aimed at helping preserve the limited PDR, or production, distribution, and repair space in the mission. This space is being eliminated at alarming levels and is very important to the mission, given that it tends to provide much higher paying jobs in our district. This legislation would remove massage establishments and gym from PDR spaces, of allowed use in these PDR spaces, and it would also remove the retail special use district from 16th Street to Potrero Street. I'm very grateful to the mayor's office for moving this forward so quickly, and I'm looking forward to this being the first of many pieces of legislation that come out of the MAP 2020 process. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Ronan. Supervisor Safai.
Can you skip me and come back, please?
Refer,
Thank you.
certainly. Supervisor Sheehy.
Submit.
Okay. Supervisor Yee.
Yes, thank you, Madam Clerk. I just wanted to introduce a resolution that's basically asking the Planning Commission to adopt general plan amendments defining family-friendly housing. It's something that I've been working on for several years now, and realizing that San Francisco does not have a formal definition, and the city planning staff has been working on a paper that talks about family-friendly housing and some of the elements necessary to make it friendly, and that we actually had a hearing at the Planning Commission to talk about the paper, and which really generated a lot of pretty robust discussion with the planning commissioners. And there were several people indicated from the Planning Commission that we should formalize this piece. So this general agreement that we should move forward with this, and I'm just making this more formal as a request. As you know, with the projected population to grow by 200,000, we're going to, even with the low percentage of children population, we're still going to have an additional 27,000 children from the ages of 0 to 18. So if we don't get ready for them real soon, we're going to really start losing even a bigger percentage of children in San Francisco. So I want to thank the co-sponsors of this resolution, Ronan, Safayi, Sheehy, Kim, Farrell, Cohen, Fewer, Peskin, and Bree. So the rest I submit.
Thank you, Supervisor Yee. Supervisor Breed.
Did you say Supervisor Breed?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Colleagues, today I have 2 items. In 2013, the city's Transportation Task Force identified $10 billion in critical needs for our transportation infrastructure. The following year, the city asked voters for approval to sell $500 million in general obligation bonds to help meet those transportation needs. The bonds became Proposition A in 2014. I voted to place it on the ballot, and every one of my colleagues did as well. And all 11 of us, along with the mayor, signed the ballot argument to support it. The measure promised to invest $500 million on projects to improve muni reliability and accessibility, improve the conditions of the streets, and make roads safer for pedestrians, cyclists, and motorists. Based on those promises and the trust we all place in the Municipal Transportation Agency to make them happen, San Francisco voters passed Proposition A with an overwhelming vote of 72% to 28%. Almost 2.5 years later, I am concerned that the MTA is misusing our trust. Almost 2.5 years later, do you know that how much of that $500 million has actually been spent to improve our transportation infrastructure? 12 of $500 million. 27 months later, MTA has spent 2% of the bonds we authorized, the bonds we said we urgently needed to use. With each passing day, we are paying interest on bonds that we have sold but are not using. With each passing day, the value of this money goes down while the cost of construction goes up, meaning the MTA can't deliver the same quality or quantity of transportation improvements that the bond money could have originally done. And if the MTA sits on bond money for too long, the federal government can actually start imposing arbitrary fees and penalties for their inaction. Today, with my co-sponsor, Supervisor Peskin, I am calling for a hearing before the Government Audit and Oversight Committee for the MTA to explain what is the explanation for the delays in using these approved funds? What is the plan for resolving the delays, and what is the specific timeline for delivering these projects? What, if any, projects or features of projects will have to be cut because of the delays and the corresponding decreased value of our money? How is the MTA board and the Citizens General Obligation Bond Oversight Committee engaged on this issue? The scheduling of bond sales or the delayed use of bond funds may seem obscure to some, but everyone in San Francisco has a stake in this. For one thing, it's our money. The bonds are paid back by property tax revenue, and half of that tax burden can legally be passed through to tenants. We're paying the bills, so we should know what we are getting, that we're getting as much out of it as we possibly can. And just as important, we need these transportation improvements yesterday. How many people will get hurt because of critical street safety projects that have been delayed? How long will Muni riders keep hearing, just be patient? We all depend on this transportation system, whether we travel on Muni, on car, or by foot, or by bicycle. We all need it to improve. And in fairness to the MTA, there's one big contributor to all of this that we have to confront. It takes too long to get transit projects approved. We can't continue to let a handful of people block transportation improvements that benefit thousands of people. It's not fair, it's not democratic, And the fact that we do it is a big reason why our public transit has not gotten better faster and why our streets haven't gotten safer sooner. Outreach is very important, but at some point we have to make decisions and accept that we will not please everyone. We can't let our transportation system die from 1,000 cuts, or in this case, 500 million of them. Secondly, colleagues, today I'm introducing a request for the city attorney to draft legislation that will create a safe injection services task force. Nationwide, the substance abuse epidemic is ravaging communities and taking far too many lives. San Francisco is no exception. You can walk outside the doors of City Hall and see people shooting up on the sidewalks and the steps of the main library. Orange plastic syringe caps and used needles litter our sidewalks, particularly in the downtown area. It's unsafe, it's unhealthy, and we have an obligation to do better for those who need us to. For years, San Francisco has grappled with how best to serve those in our community who face the harsh reality of drug addiction. The Department of Public Health estimates the city is home to some 22,000 IV drug users. Syringe access programs or needle exchanges have been remarkably successful in reducing the transmission of HIV and hepatitis C while promoting smart public health, but we must do more. San Francisco must find effective ways to connect addicts to available resources like primary care, physicians, mental health care, case management, harm reduction programs, and many other critical wraparound services that provide hope for a healthier life and opportunities for rehabilitation. I don't know if a safe injection site is the answer. To be honest, I have serious reservations about them. I don't want to make it easy for people to use drugs. I don't want to see neighborhoods divided as some residents worry injection will draw illegal activity into their community. But this issue is too acute, the harm too great for us to rule out any possible solution without at least studying it first. For one thing, we have existing needle service facilities that could potentially offer safe injection without having to open any new facilities in our city. And turning our eyes or just getting frustrated won't stop people from using drugs. By providing essential wraparound services, safe injection could prevent overdoses and actually reduce IV drug use, not just on our sidewalks, but overall by helping users into rehabilitation. That is why I will be introducing legislation to create a task force of public health and addiction experts who can ensure San Francisco makes a careful, informed decision about safe injection services. The task force will report back to the Board of Supervisors and the mayor on potential downsides, obstacles, and opportunities associated with safe injection. The task force will sunset after 12 months unless we elect to extend it. I know the pain of drug abuse all too well. I lost my younger sister to a drug overdose, and my brother still suffers with addiction. I know addiction can impact anyone, and I know how painfully difficult it is to get better. I can't say safe injection is the answer. It may not be, but I know we can't be quiet anymore. We can't hope the trouble goes away. We have to research it. We have to work. We have to be more humane. I want to thank my co-sponsor in this effort, Supervisor Jeff Sheehy. Thank you as well to Laura Thomas of the Drug Policy Alliance, former supervisor and former director of the Hope, Bevan Dufty, Roma Guy and Gary McCoy for their years of brave advocacy on this issue. And thank you to State Senator Scott Wiener, who is working to address the state obstacles to safe injection. I will be working closely with our Department of Public Health and local community-based organizations and public health experts to create this safe injection task force and study this potential public health and neighborhood safety initiative. Madam Clerk, the rest I submit, and at this time it is past 2:30, and before we move to our commendations, I want to recognize Supervisor Sheehy.
Yes, I just want to applaud President Breed for moving this forward. I know this has been a contentious issue, but guided by sound data, public health interventions of this sort have been very effective. If you look at needle exchange, that's had a dramatic impact on the spread of HIV. If you look at methadone and other harm reduction strategies, they've also been very successful. So I am proud to co-sponsor this with President Bree.
Thank you, Supervisor Sheehy. And with that, it is past 2:30, and it is now time for our 2:30 commendations, and we have 3 of them today. We will begin with Supervisor Peskin.
Thank you, Madam President, colleagues. Friday morning, 103 hours ago, I got that call that none of us want to get, namely that there was a 2-alarm fire, in this case in Chinatown. I know that these fires have happened around the city, particularly in the Tenderloin and in the Mission. And Friday morning, I got that call. 7 small businesses were displaced and 19 mostly monolingual Chinese seniors as well at the corner of Pacific and Stockton in Chinatown. And I wanted to rise to say this was San Francisco at its best. The first responders from Stations 2, 28, 41, and 13. Thank you, Captain Pardini. Thank you, Battalion Chief Nicole Jurtovac. If I said that correctly, you guys were incredible. I saw you again later that night responding to another alarm on Columbus Avenue. It was a tough fire to put out. You guys knocked it down. You got in that basement that simmered for hours. I cannot thank you all enough. Central Station, Captain Lazar and his officers secured the perimeter in minutes and continued to help the tenants in the days and hours ahead. I want to thank the Red Cross and the Salvation Army for their immediate response in taking those tenants in. It's really been a sight to behold. Thank you, John McKnight. Thank you, Eleanor Najaj, if I'm pronouncing your name right, even though I've met you now 5 times over the last 3 days. And I additionally want to thank many members of the city family. I have to say, in the 10 years that I've been on the Board of Supervisors, I have never seen the entire city family, and I hate using the word city family, come together so quickly, work so well, from the mayor's office, the Human Services Agency, the Department of Building Inspection. Tom Huey, you and your staff were not only there, not only determined that the building did not need to be demolished, but one of your senior building inspectors started, I believe his name is Senior Building Inspector Bernie Curran, started peeling. Thank you, Bernie. I was not there. I was actually out of state and did not come back until Friday evening at about 8 o'clock, but I heard the story about you reaching into your wallet and peeling cash money out in order to give the tenants the stuff that they needed so that they could return to the building that was soaked with water. I wanted to shout out Victor Lim from the mayor's office, who was there doing translation services and dealing with everything that needed to be done, large and small. Thank you, Victor. Francis Chen from the Office of Economic and Workforce Development, you were truly an unsung hero. And most particularly, the Chinatown Community Development Center that looked out for each, and is still looking out as we speak, for each and every one of those 19 individuals whose lives have been turned upside down. And thank you, Chinatown Community Development Center, for starting a GoFundMe site. All of these individuals' worldly possessions, of which they do not have that much, have been damaged by water, whether it's mattresses and what have you. So let me just give a little PSA here, which is go to gofundme.com/Chinatown Fire Victim Fund and give your donations, or you can send a check to the Chinatown Community Development Center, as my wife and I have done, at 1525 Grant Avenue, San Francisco, California, 94133. I want to thank the Sheriff's Department that showed up on Saturday with towels for folks so that they could dry themselves off after showers. But most particularly, I want to thank Lava May because there were no showers in there. Vanessa, Denise, Carlos, You guys were unbelievable, not once, not twice, but 3 times. I've always understood the value of Lava May, but seeing that truck pull up to the Salvation Army so those people can come out in the morning and get showers brings tears to my eyes. I cannot thank you enough. I'm going to convince all of my colleagues that not only do we have to have them in Golden Gate Park, but we have to expand your operations in San Francisco as our homeless crisis gets worse and worse. Self-help for the elderly, thank you. Particular shout out to Ben Ames, who has been working with the mayor's office and my office to find housing while the building is being fixed. And I want to say the landlord and property owner and their property manager have been extremely cooperative. If you are to have a tragedy like this happen, this is the best way to have one of those tragedies. Cannot tell you how proud I am to be a San Franciscan. This was our proudest moment. And with that, let me come and give all of you, from Lava May to Self-Help for the Elderly to our first responders, from the fire department and police department to the Department of Emergency Management, and all of you, I cannot thank you enough from the bottom of my heart. It makes me proud to be a member of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. God bless you all. Come on up.
You can take it outside if you need to, Supervisor Piskin. Thank you all for your service. We truly appreciate it, and congratulations. Good to see you, Victor. Thank you all again. All right, the next commendation for today will be Supervisor Malia Cohen.
Thank you. Thank you. So, colleagues, today I'd like to honor a number of parent leaders on the occasion, if you do not know, National Parent Leadership Month. This commemorative month celebrates and recognizes parents who lead in their families, in the school, and in their communities. Today, I'm proud to honor 6 parents from 2 organizations, 1 from A Better Way and 2 from a homeless prenatal program. I'd like to recognize and call up Mary Jefferson, Luis Rivera, Vanessa Jackson, Kimberly Sawyer, Darlene Seguiera, and Christina Hernandez. These parents are participants of our Human Service Agency's Peer Parent Advocates Program, which provide direct peer parenting support to families that have children in the child welfare as well as juvenile justice probation system. Parent involvement in our schools and community is critical to our children's success. As advocates for family and community issues, parent leaders break down the invisible barriers between families and local administrators. Often, parents contribute expertise, knowledge, and insight and experience to school programs that would otherwise not be available to teachers and administrators. Parents bringing perspective to school officials that benefit their families. Most importantly, through these parent advocate efforts, relationships are forged that build trust and cooperation in the community. I want to just take a moment and recognize these outstanding leaders and thank them for their continued service and wish you a hearty congratulations. I also want to recognize Trent Rohr, who's the director of HSA, who also has a few remarks he'd like to share with us.
Thank you, Supervisor Cohen. I'll be brief. Trent Rohr, director of the Human Services Agency. I just want to say in honor of National Parent Leadership Month, it's critical that we recognize all parents for being leaders, not only for their own children, but in their communities. But these parents behind me, who were all either involved in the juvenile justice system or their children were, or the child welfare system, have now stepped up to play roles for families who are currently involved in the system. And there's nothing harder, I think, for the Human Services Agency to do than to make a decision to remove a child from his or her birth parent. What we want to do when that happens is reunify, stabilize that family and reunify their child as soon as we can. And the child welfare system is so complex, and there's such trauma for the parents when they experience this, that having parents who've been involved with it, knowing the ins and outs, be their peer support, has proved so effective and so productive, and such a great relationship. And so to honor the folks behind me, I really appreciate it, Supervisor Cohen, and it's so well deserved on this February being National Parent Leadership Month.
I couldn't agree more.
Thank you and congratulations. Thank you for your service. Our final commendation for today will be given by Supervisor Jane Kim.
Thank you, President Bree. And I would love to bring up the members of AFT 2121, the San Francisco Labor Council, and Jobs with Justice to the podium. I kind of just want to do a dance instead of giving you the commendation, but just so everyone is clear why you are all here today, ladies and gentlemen. We, on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, just want to honor the amazing leadership, policy initiative, and just unwavering relentlessness of AFT 2121, the Labor Council, and Jobs with Justice on making City College free for all San Francisco residents.
Yeah, baby.
This is a truly momentous announcement, and I think that there are very few days on this job that I get to be a part of something that I think is just going to have a momentous impact, not just for San Francisco, but for our country. And I know I tell this story over and over again, but really, when AFT 2121 and Labor Council approached us back in December with this crazy ambitious idea to make City College free again, I remember thinking, wow, this is amazing, but I mean, how are we going to do this? This sounds so big and, and impossible. And over the course of a year, we worked and we worked and we worked, and we came up with a funding source, and we came up with the data and the numbers, and almost a little over a year later, we were able to announce yesterday, with support from the mayor, that this city, through Proposition W real estate transfer tax funding, will be making City College free for all San Francisco residents. And this work would not have been possible without your leadership, your commitment, your unwavering relentlessness over the year, and then going out to the voters and asking the voters to support us in this really important initiative. And we know that community college, it has been and is the foundation that have helped so many of our residents climb into the middle class. And there was a recent New York Times report article on a longitudinal study that I encourage everyone to look at that examined hundreds of universities and colleges across the country to see their impact on helping students achieve higher income brackets. And it wasn't the Ivy Leagues. It was community colleges like CUNY and San Francisco City College that have shown the greatest strides in helping working class and low-income families and households rise to the middle class. And so making that opportunity free here in San Francisco, one of the most expensive cities in the world and a city with the fastest growing income gap, is our commitment to tackling on the income and wealth gap here in San Francisco. And I just hope this is the beginning. We're the domino effect. The rest of California will follow, and then the rest of the nation will follow. This is the right step. And so thank you to AFT 2121, and I know the president, Tim Killikelly, will be accepting on the union's behalf. Of course, to Elisa Messer, the vice president and political director, for basically sitting in our office and joining our legislative team. We're going to miss you, although the work is not done. And making sure that we were on point and committed to every single level, making City College free for San Francisco residents, but also ensuring that we were providing additional support for our poorest students at City College to get just a little bit of grant funding to help with books and other costs, knowing that fees are not the only barriers to attending City College. And to Athena Wade, your voice, thank you for singing us through Free City College, and for really being there every step of the day. San Francisco Labor Council, thank you for making this the political priority of 2016 and putting all of your weight, muscle, resources, human power to making sure that Prop W passed with the majority of San Francisco voters. Connie Ford, the vice president, who's here today to accept on their behalf. And of course, the Jobs with Justice, Avni Desai, who is here, and also James Tracy, who I don't see. Thank you for organizing our communities because it was important that this is not an initiative just with leadership on the top, but we have true grassroots movement on the ground, educating our residents, and also to encourage folks to fight for our college and to enroll in August 2017. So thank you so much. The Board of Supervisors want to commend you for your effort, your leadership. This is so inspiring. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I see that I'm not the only one that wants to speak to thank you, so I will turn it over to my colleagues and then hand the certificates over.
Thank you, Supervisor Kim. So we have a few members of the board that'd like to comment before we bring you up for your commendation, and we will start with Supervisor Cohen.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It feels good, doesn't it? Congratulations. Before we acknowledge labor leaders, I want to just acknowledge my colleague, Supervisor Kim. I mean, she's just been incredible. She was fearless. I think the true embodiment of grace under pressure. Thank you. Thank you for not giving up and working with the mayor's office and coming to an agreed upon figure. And that's not easy. And just your tenacity is definitely something to be admired. And with that said, Elisa, I think you have transformed into just an incredible human being. I'm sure you were born incredible, but just your leadership alone on this one particular item, not just City College, but just City College from start to finish, almost the last 5 years. It's just been absolutely crazy. And congratulations to the entire leadership of AFT 2121. I mean, my highest compliments. And then I did probably the second most interfacing with Connie. This woman was incessant. I kid you not. I would see her at farmers market. I would get text messages in all times of the day and night from her. And thank you, Connie, because that really means something. I know you're a public school parent, and you believe in the system, and I am a product of the system, and it's through your hard leadership and advocacy from my parents, from Jill Wynn from a long time. It's just been incredible to watch how everything has come together, and you have a lot to be proud of. I think you've got an incredible amount of leadership ability, and you don't hoard it, you share it. Whether you're teaching classes and lifting as you are climbing, it's just noticeable, and I just want you to know that. I think this is a fantastic legacy that the entire team has left. I mean, you've inspired so many people, and I can only imagine what other municipality school districts are going to be cooking up now, because San Francisco did it and we did it first. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Cohen. Supervisor Ronan.
I also want to begin by congratulating my colleague, Supervisor Kim. Thank you for fighting so hard and for winning with this incredible team. You're an inspiration, and this is truly one of those rare pieces of legislation that inspires us and makes our city one of the best in the world. So thank you. And you all, AFT 2121, what a few years you all have had. I mean, You have been on the forefront of fighting to regain accreditation of the college, to settling a contract to get fair wages for faculty and everyone at City College, and then to launching and taking the leadership for, once again, one of the most inspiring pieces of legislation or efforts that we've seen in San Francisco. Wow, just wow. You're tireless, you're incredible, and inspiring in these times, and really represent the best of unions and the labor movement that fights not just for the individual interests of workers, but for social justice generally. And you're some of my favorite people. Connie, I also want to echo Malia Cohen, everything you do for San Francisco, but also for those of us and women in leadership positions. You're such a hero to me, and Jobs with Justice. It's just bringing community and labor together is how we win. So thank you all for everything, and congratulations.
Thank you, Supervisor Ronan. Supervisor Yee.
Thank you, President Bree. I just want to echo what everybody else has said. When this issue came up a year ago, it's one of these things where I hear a lot of things in this chamber or at City Hall about the things that we can and should do and everything else, and many times I kind of roll my eyes and say, "Oh, sure, okay." And this was one where I actually rolled my eyes and go, "Okay, sure." But you folks and everybody that supported this effort, and there were a lot of people. I never seen an issue being so enthusiastically supported by so many people in the city. But you, as leaders, really represent to me the superheroes and heroines. And I think what you're symbolic of really is to say that it can be done. And you made it happen. And it makes other issues for us to have hope in trying to get things done. For instance, if I ever, I would love to have infant care as universal in San Francisco, and with your inspiration, we'll get it done. And with your inspiration and your leadership, you will bring back the Lunar New Year holiday for City College staffers. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor Yee. Supervisor Fewer.
Yes, I'd like to add my huge thank you also to all the work that you did to get this passed, and to, of course, my fabulous, outstanding colleague, Jane Kim, who had the vision actually to bring this forward, but also the tenacity. And I think it was a fight. And I love it actually when after a fight, there's a really, really good outcome. So I just want to thank you. And as you know, as a graduate of City College myself, my father died when I was 14, and City College was the only option for myself, and also for my husband. So we are both proud graduates of City College, as was his father, and also my children attended the early education programs there. And so everyone in my family, I think, has benefited from City College. We went to City College when it was free, and it was just the only opportunity that we had for higher education. And quite frankly, probably I would not be here today if it wasn't for City College. So some people may be not liking that, but I just want to say on a positive note is that it was always a window, a door to opportunity for all of my friends, that you could go to City College. And even my mother in retirement took classes at City College, serving all levels of age groups, from young infants, as my children were, and toddlers, to college students, to older adults. It has always been a great place of learning for lifelong learners and for those looking for a different change in their lives, but just also to further educate themselves about the world around them. And I think this is why public education is under attack today by this administration, is because public education is so powerful. It is the great equalizer of our society, or it should be. And when we see attacks on a national level, I just have to say with such great pride that once again, we lead the city, we lead the state, and we lead the nation. And this idea that people who don't have money can actually be educated and actually pursue a higher level of education, and they would have opportunities as everybody else to participate in their governance, and also in employment that actually can give them a living wage salary. So I just really want to thank you, myself and for my family, but more than that, for 1,000 students that we send every year to City College from the San Francisco Unified School District. This idea of free City College for every San Francisco resident will now open the doors to our high school redesign, which is the hope that every one of our seniors from the San Francisco Unified School District would have a couple of college classes under their belt to give them the confidence that they too can be college students, and college too is for them also. And so thank you so much for the hundreds of thousands of people that this will help, not just now, but in the future. And also, as Supervisor Kim said, also that we lead the way. We show them how it's done. And if history repeats itself, they follow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Supervisor Fewer. Supervisor Peskin.
Thank you, Madam President. As you know, I like to rise. This is something absolutely worth rising for. San Francisco, as Supervisor Kim has said repeatedly, is a city of firsts, and this ranks up there with our healthcare ordinance. This ranks up there with our first in the country local minimum wage. This makes us proud to be San Franciscans. I cannot thank Supervisor Kim and labor enough, and as Supervisor Ronan said, it goes far beyond the conditions of your faculty. It is really about a rising tide, truly raising all boats, and that is what makes labor great, and that's what makes this town great. And I am, for the second time today, proud to be a San Franciscan.
Thank you, Supervisor Peskin. Supervisor Safai. Supervisor Tang.
I'm here.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm
Supervisor Safai.
Yes, thank you. Sorry. I didn't know Supervisor Peskin was going to finish so quickly. Just kidding. I'm not going to reiterate everything everyone else has said. I want to first commend Supervisor Kim for her leadership, and particularly her staff, Ivy Lee, and others that were in the trenches. These are a lot of the things that were said over the last few days. But all I really want to add to the thankfulness in this room is that this is the power of organized labor. This is what organized labor really represents. And as someone that's worked in organized labor for the last 8 years, I just want to commend AFT 2121 for their leadership and doing something that will benefit everyone in our entire city for generations to come. And that's the history of the city. That's what the city was founded on. That's why we had the SRO conversation the other day. Supervisor Peskin, thank you for your leadership on that. That's why the city evolved in the way it did. And this is just another piece in our history that shows what organized labor can do and how it can benefit everyone in society, and why doing these types of things benefit not just those that are on the front lines, but everyone from the middle class to the lower income families to upper income families. And I just have to say that it was really, really important in this debate, in another way that we led around in terms of setting the trend for the country, that we would make this something that would benefit everyone. And I know that this has been said a lot of times, but thank you, AFT 2121 and Supervisor Kim and everyone, for holding the line on this being a benefit to everyone, regardless of income. Because the first people that would be cut out would be working families. And so for the folks that I represent, I just say thank you, and thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Supervisor Safai. Supervisor Tang.
Thank you. I just want to echo everyone's gratitude for not only Supervisor Kim and, of course, AFT 2121, but I do want to give a huge shout out to Ivy. I know that we had some very difficult conversations, right, especially when it came up during Budget Committee, and we hadn't seen how we were going to solve this funding issue. And Ivy was just, I would say, probably struck my heart the most, was such a fierce advocate for this program. And so I want to thank you for all of your work on this.
Thank you, Supervisor Tang, and I'll be brief. First of all, I just want to start by thanking Supervisor Kim for her leadership. This was definitely no easy task to get done, and she basically saw that there was a real possibility, came up with a funding source, and worked with many community stakeholders to make something incredible happen in our city. And this is really a wonderful day in San Francisco. What's so great about this is, we all know that education is the equalizer. Making sure people have access to education is key to the success of changing lives and doing better in your life. It happened for me, and I'm so grateful to each and every one of you for all of the work that you put into making sure that no one was left behind, and Free City College was made possible for each and every citizen of this incredible city. And so, yes, thank you to the Labor Council, AFT 2121, all the organizers, but a special thank you to the person who harassed me the most, Connie Ford. Connie knew without me saying her name, but to Connie Ford, an amazing advocate for the community, an amazing advocate for all that's right, amazing advocate for doing everything she can to support families and people in our city, especially those who oftentimes start at a disadvantage. And so thank you, Connie, for your leadership, and thank you each and every one of you for your advocacy. This is really an amazing day in San Francisco. You all will go down in San Francisco history as making something wonderful happen. Congratulations, Supervisor Kim, on your work.
Thank you, President Breed. And yes, we will also allow you to speak as well. But I was reminded and a little embarrassed. Thank you so much for acknowledging my Chief of Staff, Ivy Lee. This also would not have been possible without her, and it is clear from the acknowledgments that have been made by board members and also by Hydra Mendoza yesterday at the press conference. I just offered her a bottle of scotch, but you all get commendations. We'll all celebrate together. But I do also really want to thank this Board of Supervisors for supporting this from the get-go, asking hard questions, and making sure that we were getting this program right, but being committed to making San Francisco another first, and bringing back City College to be free just as when Supervisor Fewer and Yee attended this great institution themselves. And of course, I'm sure you will say it as well, looking forward to seeing everyone enroll in a class in August for free. So I give the floor to you, Elisa.
So thank you so much. That was overwhelming, in fact, but really beautiful and something so nice to hear from everybody. And I think it speaks not just to the work that we've done, but also to the value of City College, as so many of you spoke to. What we've done together, and thank you, supervisors, for being so involved in that work. What we've done together is really expand access. So higher education is now universal for San Franciscans, and that's profound. I love San Francisco. This is my city. I grew up here. If you've talked to me, and I think all of you have, you know that I love my college, and I love the students I work with. And it's been a hard several years for City College of San Francisco, as you all know. And there is nothing, I think, more profound or more beautiful that we could have done with that suffering and that hardship and those trials than to turn it into this. This is really so much bigger than our accreditation crisis, and yet there's a way in which that's what made it possible, because it was this entire city coming together behind the college in terms of the accreditation crisis that really made it possible to talk about something this big. And so I'm really proud to have been involved in it, and I'm really so thankful to all of you for engaging with it, and especially to Supervisor Kim and her staff, especially Ivy League, for just digging in with just a Wonder Woman model and being so tenacious and so incredible. And then I also want to say that our students aren't here with us today, they're in their classes, but for our students this is huge, and they came together to support this. And really we built a much broader than AFT 2121 or the Labor Council or Jobs with Justice, built a very large labor community student coalition that I'm really proud to have been involved with. And unfortunately, it's perhaps the easiest organizing we'll ever get to do because people were so deeply behind what we were trying to accomplish. So thank you for being part of that with all of us together and for doing this for our college and for our city.
Supervisors, on behalf of the Labor Council, I'm so proud to stand here and speak to all of you on such a united issue. You know, it was a year ago that some of us struggled within the council itself because everybody knows that the Labor Council and many unions are divided and fight, and we're not exactly always aligned. But on this issue, we were aligned, and last January, we declared that this was the #1 issue that we wanted to work in. And every single union stepped up in some way, in somehow, to make this event possible. It was obviously the leadership of AFT 2121. It was obviously the community groups who were there as well. But it was so exciting to see labor for one of the first times in a long time to stand up and roar, and we roared together, and I was so proud to be a part of that leadership and to come to this conclusion together. So thank you, Supervisor Kim. Thank you, supervisors, for supporting this. Thank you, Supervisor Breed and Cohen, for calling me out on my harassment. Thank you, Ivy. I am so touched to be here today. It's one of those things. Supervisor Peskin mentioned all of the other things that we have passed throughout our history in the last 10 years, you know, minimum wage, health care, all of those things. This one feels profoundly like we're making a change for our city, and we're making it so that people who have been pushed out, who don't feel cared for, now have access to really make it somewhere and somehow. And it's just awesome, to quote my 5-year-old grandson. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, supervisors. My name is Avni. I'm here representing Jobs with Justice and Community Housing Partnership. Just really quickly want to thank you all for your leadership, Supervisor Kim and Ivy. We serve at CHP over 1,400 formerly homeless people, and on behalf of them, thank you for never having them make the choice of ever choosing between housing and education. You all made it possible so that they could do both. And it is so appreciated, and they're so excited to take classes this fall.
I just wanted to reiterate what everybody has said before, that this is an incredible day for San Francisco, and I've actually never been prouder to represent the people that I do at AFT 2121 and the way we have worked together in coalition and brought so many different people together. I am so proud to live here in San Francisco and see the support that we've gotten around this. And it's just overwhelming this day. And I really want to thank the leadership of Supervisor Kim. Without you being a champion in this and the work with Ivy, this would never have happened. And the other champions in our local who really led the fight on this, and everybody who's been involved in this know that the work and commitment that they put in, Elisa Messer and Athena Wade, just incredible work. So I'm so proud of everyone in this process. Thank you so much.
Supervisor Kim, if you can bring them in the well, we can take a picture so we can resume our business. Thank you. Okay, we're going to recess for just 1 minute. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. We're back. All right. Thank you, each and every one of you, and congratulations again for your hard work. Now I'd like to recognize Supervisor Peskin.
Thank you, Madam President, for acknowledging me again on roll call.
Actually, it's commendations.
Commendations, excuse me. Let me say that this last weekend, the Miss Chinatown pageant happened as it does every year in Chinatown, but this is the first year that Ms. Rose Pack was not presiding. I am delighted to announce that all of you can avail yourselves of Free City College. But most importantly, as you see in the political arena, all of us are winners, but some of us actually get to be board president. And with that, I would like to acknowledge Ms. Karen Yang, who received the title, and all of the rest of the House here that has joined us today at the Board of Supervisors. Congratulations. Thank you all for participating, and may 2017 bring you many New Year's and spring banquets. I look forward to seeing you everywhere in Chinatown and all over San Francisco. Congratulations, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Supervisor Peskin, for acknowledging that we have royalty in the building.
That is a true fact, and Ms. Yang may want to say a few words.
Ms. Yang, would you like to come up and speak? Yes.
And I do have to add that my former chief of staff for 8 years, Rose Chung, was the recipient of that exact title many, many years ago. I'm not going there.
Don't go there. I got your back, Rose. Okay.
All right. Good evening or good afternoon. My name is Karen, and I'm actually not from San Francisco. I'm from Houston, Texas. But I'm currently studying as a freshman at Harvard. I'm studying applied math and economics. And I just want to thank you guys. Just hearing about this bill that was passed, it really strikes a chord with me because growing up, I put a lot of value on my education, and my parents were immigrants from China, and they lived in a very poor village. So they had to work their way up through studying hard in school to come to America and create a better life for themselves. So it's something that really is like powerful in my family and something that I really saw firsthand. So I just want to applaud you for that, and it's something that you're really making a difference in people's lives. And a lot of my classmates are on full financial aid at Harvard, and they wouldn't be able to come to a school like that without the help, financial support. So it's something that's really making a difference. And also just this entire experience has been really amazing. I've met incredible people and learned a lot about my heritage, and it's just so cool to see what a great country we are, how accepting we are of different kinds of people, and how diverse America really is. And just thank you for having us. Happy Chinese New Year.
Thank you, Ms. Yang, and congratulations again. Thank you all so much for being here with us. Supervisor Peskin.
Sunning Philak Suntai Hong.
I don't know what he said, but okay. Thank you again. Now we will go back to our regular business of the Board of Supervisors. Madam Clerk, we were at roll call for introductions, and we are on the next supervisor.
Thank you, Madam President. Supervisor Cohen, you were submitting. Okay.
Yes, Madam Clerk, thank you. I'd love to submit.
Thank you kindly. Supervisor Farrell. Farrell submits. Supervisor Safai wanted to be re-referred.
Thank you. Colleagues, I'd like to end this meeting in memoriam of Miss Rosario Pabello Albert. She was an amazing woman. She was known for having a big heart and a warm smile. Her wit and generous spirit endeared her to all she encountered, friend and stranger alike. It was this sense of public duty that led her to become a licensed nurse, where she then was able to tend to the sick and injured. Her home was a haven for her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, as well as their families for over 60 years. She took her role as matriarch seriously, treating her guests to the best lumpia and lemon meringue pie ever made. Miss Rosario Pabello Albert's legacy will live on through her family. Please join me in honoring her memory. Thank you. The rest I submit.
Thank you, Supervisor Safai. Madam President, seeing no other names on the roster, that concludes the introduction of new business.
Thank you. And Madam Clerk, can we go to our 3 p.m. special order, please?
Yes, item 26. The Board of Supervisors will convene in a committee of the whole for a hearing scheduled pursuant to motion M16-164, which was approved on November 15, 2016, for a public hearing to hear and receive updates on the final reports, findings, and recommendations of the Blue Ribbon Panel on Transparency, Accountability, and Fairness in Law Enforcement.
Thank you. Supervisor Cohen, would you like to make a motion to continue this item?
Yes. Excuse me. Yes, President Breed, I would. I'd like to also make a few remarks.
Okay. Supervisor Cohen?
So, colleagues, as President Breed indicated, I'm going to make a motion to continue this item until March 7th. I just wanted to give some explanation as to why. Given that we have a new police chief, he was just sworn in so recently, and that the Department of Justice recently gave additional recommendations to the mayor, I believe that it's just prudent and in our best interest that we continue this hearing. Taking this additional time will also give Chief Scott an opportunity to be prepared for a vigorous discussion about many of the recommendations from the federal government. Most noteworthy, the updated use of force policy that's recently been implemented. So I hope that you will consider continuing this item until March 7th. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Cohen. Supervisor Cohen has made a motion to continue this to March 7, 2017. It's been seconded by Supervisor Peskin. Is there any public comment on the continuance? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. And Madam Clerk, on the motion to continue, please call the roll.
Supervisor Fewer?
Yes.
Fewer, aye. Supervisor Kim? Kim, aye. Supervisor Peskin?
Aye.
Peskin, aye. Supervisor Ronan?
Aye.
Ronan, aye. Supervisor Safai?
Aye.
Safai, aye. Supervisor Sheehy?
Aye.
Sheehy, aye. Supervisor Tang?
Aye.
Tang, aye. Supervisor Yee? Yee, aye. Supervisor Breed?
Aye.
Breed, aye. Supervisor Cohen?
Aye.
Cohen, aye. Supervisor Farrell?
Aye.
Farrell, aye. There are 11 ayes.
Okay, this item will be continued to the meeting of March 7th, 2017. Madam Clerk, let's go to the next item.
At this time, the public may now address the entire Board of Supervisors for up to 2 minutes on items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Board, to include item 29 on the adoption without reference to committee calendar. Public comment will not be allowed when an item has previously been subject to public comment at a Board committee. Pursuant to the Board's rules, direct your remarks to the Board as a whole, not to individual supervisors and nor to the audience. Speakers using interpretation assistance will be allowed twice the amount of time to testify, and if you would like to display your document on the overhead projector, please clearly state such and to SFG TV and remove the document when the screen should return to live coverage of the meeting.
First speaker, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Giselle Rupavar, and I represent the San Francisco SRO Hotel Coalition. And I wanted to be heard pursuant to my Brown Act rights to be heard. And the issue that I did have was with the notice.
I'm pausing your time, ma'am.
Yes.
That item has already had its public comment at committee.
Right, but I did want to speak during the general period pursuant to my Brown Act right under Government Code 54954.
Ma'am, I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, you will not be able to specifically speak on that particular item since it has already been heard in committee. But what you can do is talk about the subject matter in general.
Okay, so generally speaking, with respect to, I had problems with the notice that was given and the supervisors in manner of giving their notice, and because of that, we feel that there would be a need to open up an additional comment period. We've submitted a letter that's now part of the administrative record on the amendments to the hotel conversion ordinance, which we would hope you would consider. And also, I did want to raise one more issue, and that was that there was a substantive change to the ordinance at last week's meeting pertaining to the floor plan and room designations, and I feel that there should have been...
Ma'am, I'm sorry. We cannot allow you to specifically speak on an item that's been heard here and has had public comment in committee, unfortunately. So you're getting into details, and if you want, we can have someone talk to you on the side to completely explain to you why we can't do that, unfortunately. But we won't be able to allow you to make specific public comment about that particular item, unfortunately.
Okay, I understand that.
Okay.
I just wanted to come up here and raise our objection to it.
Okay, and
Thank
we'll
you.
have someone talk with you
Yes,
too.
please. I'd
Okay.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank
Next
you.
speaker, please.
Madam President, for the record, I have talked to council and indicated that we are in receipt of Miller Star Regalia's letter and that it has been submitted to the Deputy City Attorney present herein.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Salahaquia Chandler, the mother of Yalani Chinyamarinde, who was murdered with a quadruple homicide. I'm coming here in 2015, January the 9th. I'm coming here in regards to me approaching one of the Board of Supervisors to let them know that I have lived in Baby Hunters Point for 12 years, and what I have seen out of the 12 years have been nothing but yellow tape. And from there, I gave a suggestion that it would really be nice to have beautiful African cultural poles put up in Bayview to acknowledge all of the black children and boys and girls that have been murdered in San Francisco, to acknowledge their family members. And from that, the 200 poles have begun in Bayview Hunters Point. But I received the phone call this morning that there was a newsletter went out and that my name was not acknowledged. I have received phone calls that myself have not been acknowledged as the instrument of making those polls happen in Bayview Hunters Point. So I'm here to bring it to the table that the community is asking that myself be acknowledged. I'm acknowledging all of these young boys and girls that have been murdered in San Francisco, and also the flags that will be going up in memory of the 4 boys that was murdered, a quadruple homicide, and to also acknowledge the beauty of our culture as African Americans in America, realizing that we were taken a part of the slave trade and brought here against our own desires. So this is a celebration time, but I would like it to be acknowledged in the community that I be acknowledged for the contribution of these polls. Thank you very kindly.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Hakuya. Next speaker, please.
Well, hello, everyone. I was kind of puzzled, should I sing a song or something? But since we have new supervisors, I want to welcome y'all all to City Hall. You may call it City Hall, but I call it Silly Hall, but that's okay. I want to say that welcome to City Hall and helping that we could put things together. But I'm also here addressing what we're here for, at least I'm here for Black History Month. 2017. Although I choke up when I start, I'm appalled of this city and county, and that doesn't make necessary that I'm speaking to y'all individually, but collectively, I'm appalled of this city and county. And you say, Ace, why are you appalled? Well, I'm the czar of the out-migration. For those that don't know what that means, a mayor back then, Newsom, in London, Queen Bee was on that committee of the out-migration. A study was put together, recommendation was put together, but nothing was implemented. Back then we had a deficit of $500 million. Now under Ed Lee, which I know for 20-some years, the budget, wow, way up in the billions. And I went through the budget. Nothing mentioned about out-migration, black, Negroes, or whatever. Everything's lumped over to another name, and it's a shame. But as long as God gives me breath, and if after when I'm gone, someone succeeds that, we're going to be telling the city by the bay. Everybody needs to hear what I got to say. And thank God I'm finna go the internet. One day, one of my stories might go viral, and then somebody might ask, Ace, what's going on at the city at the bay? Well, I know them all. Corruption, conspiracy, pay to play, that's what they say. All of that, ACE knows all about that, and the individuals. My name is Ace. Happy Black History Month.
Thank you for your comments.
No.
If there are any members of the public who'd like to address the board during general public comment, please step up. Madam President.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who'd like to provide public comment at this time? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. All right, Madam Clerk, let's go to the next item.
Item 29 is being considered for adoption without reference to committee. It's a resolution to support California State Senate Bill 54, authored by Senator De Leon, the California Values Act, to limit state and local law enforcement's entanglement with federal immigration enforcement.
Supervisor Ronan.
Colleagues, I've circulated some amendments. These are minor technical changes that add clarity to this resolution and further describe the value and importance of our sanctuary policies. I wanted to also thank all of my co-sponsors of this resolution, Supervisors Fewer, Kim, Peskin, Yee, Safai, Breed, Tang, and Cohen. Please add Supervisor Cohen to the sponsorship. And with that, I would like to make a motion to amend the resolution, including the changes in the document that I circulated.
Thank you. Supervisor Ronan has made a motion to amend with the amendments that have been circulated, seconded by Supervisor Peskin. Colleagues, can we take the amendment without objection? Without objection, the amendment passes unanimously. And on the item as amended, colleagues, can we take that same house, same call? Without objection, this item as amended passes unanimously. All right. Madam Clerk, next item.
In memoriams, Madam President?
Hey. Please read the in memoriams.
Today's meeting will be adjourned in memory of the following beloved individuals. On behalf of Supervisor Sheehy for the late Mrs. Megan Sheenan Powers, on behalf of Supervisor Peskin for the late Miss Mildred Kiki Baker, and on behalf of Supervisor Safai for the late Mrs. Rose Pabello Albert. Apologies.
Colleagues, this brings us to the end of our agenda. Madam Clerk, is there any further business before us today?
That concludes our business for the day.
Thank you. We are adjourned.